the Next Generation Fuels Act. I had a chance to talk with Sherry Bustos for the Wiswell Robeson lecture earlier this week on Tuesday. She seemed extremely positive that it was a big topic at the Farm Progress Show and that it was well received in Washington, D.C. Can you give us the highlights and what you think the impact will be?
Sure. Let me explain just a little bit. And Ag Group's worked very closely with Congresswoman Bustos, who's done a great job with this Next Generation Fuels Act, which got reintroduced about a week or so ago, something like that. But really, back to picking winners and losers, as Noreen was talking about a minute ago on electric vehicles. We seem to be in the business of financing and picking winners and losers, and electric vehicles have been the recipient of a lot of that support. And that comes at the expense, possibly, of ethanol, renewable fuels, and our ag community and the like. So really what this Next Generation Fuels Act is all about, it's about high octane and low carbon. We can accomplish some of these low carbon goals, but ethanol can be a contributor to do that. What it does, it establishes a fuel standard, and it comes in two pieces. In 5 years, it's 20% ethanol level, which is what's called a 95 RON, which is kind of complicated, but research octane number. In 10 years, it goes to 30%. That would allow the autos, as we talked about here at some time back, and I think Sherry alluded to it, she kind of came to that knowledge when we had that discussion here a little bit, to build cars that have higher compression engines that are much smaller, and as a result they have significantly higher horsepower and achieve greater mileage. Right now the CAFE standard, or excuse me, corporate average fuel economy, is driving automakers and forcing them to go to electric vehicles because they have no choice. They have to do that per the government. What this allows is to achieve those CAFE standard with a more efficient engine coupled with the higher octane fuel to go with it. So what's that do? Reduces greenhouse gas emissions. We've got fewer carcinogens, the bad stuff in our fuel. It gets rid of the aromatics, the benzene, toluene, xylene kind of components, which are not particularly good. It gives consumers a better overall opportunity for a fuel choice at hopefully a lower cost. And it really puts liquid fuels back on a level playing field with the electric folks. The electric folks are treated as magic, which they're not if you dig back into them. And probably a good opportunity for those of us in ag and folks like Big River and the like to have an opportunity to compete in the upcoming future here. So, big deal.
So there is an opportunity here for oil, fossil fuels to come to the table and be part of this solution that answers some of the questions. I'm trying to pick my words here. Some of the questions that arise around electric vehicles, as far as not only the power generation, but some of the limitations, some of the questions around the batteries, how they're made, what's done with them at disposals. I mean, there is just a lot of questions that I haven't heard answered very satisfactorily yet, and I think this low carbon, high octane fuel provides some of the answers in carbon friendly engine operation and transportation. I think there's real hope here, and I think the oil companies, at least if they're smart, and I think they probably are, come to the table along with the auto manufacturers and say this is a good workable solution going forward.
By moving in this manner, you are part of the solution. And currently, to add to this a little bit, I'm going off stream, but there's some big efforts on carbon sequestration, and it's looking at ammonia plants and ethanol plants that have a clean CO2 stream where they would take that carbon and sequester it in deep geological formations. ADM is doing that currently down by Decatur, and there's a big movement to that. If we are successful on that, we're going to go from 40% reduction in carbon intensity to something dramatically more for the ethanol piece. The ethanol is the lowest source of octane, so it would grow and support agriculture as we have potentially a shrinking liquid fuels market between mileage and electrification of transportation. So it might be a nice fit that ethanol is part of the solution, and it can become more of this part of the solution to decarbonize our transportation sector when you bring all of these things together. Part of the legislation also addresses some issues that have been endemic out in the EPA. The MOVES model is a model that the EPA has used that potentially could be detrimental to ethanol as an oxygenant in fuels, and it would replace it with Argonne Labs' GREET model. And it gets into certification fuels and some of the aromatics that Robin indicated. We can remove some of that for health reasons from our fuels. So this legislation, if we can carry it through, I think it's a very big positive. It supports the ag sector. It supports the Midwest, the rural communities, our jobs, and it helps to decarbonize our economy. And so it's a very positive piece of legislation if all of those things can come about. The reality of what we anticipate on electric vehicles and the timeline is so long. If we can do some of these and be part of the solution, the goal is reducing our net carbon footprint. So let's make sure we're using the tools we have today that are here and be part of that solution. Let's not knock them out in the rush to go to what we view or current popularity wants to view as the ultimate solution. So we're very positive. We're very thankful for Representative Bustos on working with the group to pull this together. National Corn was very involved, and the ethanol associations.
There is a new diesel fuel. It's called renewable diesel fuel, which is made from vegetable oils, which is soybean oil or animal fats or recycled cooking oil. It's further refined, but the renewable diesel is 100% diesel fuel, but it's made from vegetable oil, or the things I mentioned before, which is a little different than biodiesel. So biodiesel is you add to the petroleum-based diesel fuel, and renewable diesel fuel is 100% renewable. That's what it says. And so that's a product that's one of the new uses that has been coming down the pike for soybeans right now.